Before ending my day watching the primary election results from Kansas, Missouri, Michigan, Washington, and Virginia tonight, and hopefully seeing DSA endorsed and DSA aligned candidates sweep in their primary runs, I thought we'd take a look at a story buried deep inside the Philadelphia Inquirer today. Not on the front page, not even on pages A, 3, and 4, but deep inside the business pages. You won't be surprised. On the front page, we get a headline story about Penn betraying its students by working with the Trump administration to agree on reforms to higher education that should be adopted by the end of the year. And a story about Todd Blanche, the pedophile protector-in-chief, agreeing to rescind the Trump IRS settlement fund in writing and put limits on tax audit shield in exchange for getting him confirmed as the Attorney General, and Trump overhauling and gutting Head Start services. We get this also important story. Capital One. You know, that bank that is notorious for being liberal and being very, very political in all of their actions. Headline reads, Capital One, Trump accounts closed after suspicious activity. Let's take a look at what this one says. The court filing is tied to a lawsuit filed against Capital One by one of Trump's financial holding companies shortly after he was sworn into office the second time. Trump alleges that Capital One illegally closed its accounts for political reasons following the January 6th attacks on the U.S. Capitol. Everything with this guy is political, right? If it's anything that is catching him in his corruption and greed, he calls it political, and his stupid followers fall in line with it. This is a fucking bank. Banks are required to report suspicious activities. Hell, one time I tried to send a lot of money to my brother after our mother passed away, and just the sheer amount of that got that transaction flagged. And all I was doing was giving my brother his inheritance, right? It's not like banks are out there looking for reasons to track this stuff. There are signs that flag these suspicious activities. And usually it's anything over $10,000 to $15,000 gets flagged. Capital One wants the lawsuit dismissed. The closures were the result of months of analysis and a careful review by Capital One's AML team in accordance with bank policies and regulatory guidance, the bank said in the court filing. The term AML is an abbreviation for Anti Money Laundering. Trump has sued Capital One as well as JP Morgan Chase for allegedly debanking him after he left office in 2021. Debanking occurs when banks shut down customer accounts because they believe they pose financial, legal, or reputational risk to the banks. I guarantee Trump's hanging it all on the reputational risk, when we all know that it's the financial and legal risk that the banks care about the most. In July, after the original lawsuit had lain dormant for months, lawyers for the president filed an amended lawsuit that alleged the bank debanked him for political reasons. The bank says the new allegations are without merit, saying the complaints, quote, new theories are based on cherry-picked quotations. Trump wouldn't cherry-pick, would he? President Trump's legal team dismissed that claim Monday, but did not address the internal findings by the bank. That's the thing with cherry-picking. You just kind of pick the ones that look good and you ignore the whole context and the entire tree while you're trying to get that one perfect cherry. And then finally, the article ends with a little caveat that says Trump had more than 300 bank accounts with Capital One before they were closed. The bank accounts were for a variety of Trump-branded businesses. Trump had banked with Capital One for more than a decade before the accounts were closed. That's the story. Now it's time for history. Today's history is brought to us by the folks over at Medium and their writer Rand Engel. 119 examples of Donald Trump's corruption. I do not have the time, and you do not have the patience to go through all 119 Examples of Donald Trump's corruption? Let's focus on the ones that happened before he even became president. Trump's corruption before he was president. This first section includes Trump corruption and the appearance of corruption that happened or at least started before the presidency. And he outlines why they're important for several reasons, but let's just jump to the meat of it. Money laundering. Seems like that's the same thing that Capital One just nailed him on. Oh, look at this. Number 2, another money laundering scandal. The Trump Ocean Club International Hotel and Tower in Panama appears to have been useful for criminal enterprises to launder tens of millions of dollars, which could not have been unknown to the Trump organization. Russians accounted for up to 50% of the buyers. You remember the Russians, right? They're the ones currently bombing the shit out of Ukraine for the last 3 years, but they're also the ones that got Trump his first term as president. And then there's the whole thing with Deutsche Bank, right? Trump owes more than $400 million, as he confirmed in his town hall with Savannah Guthrie back in 2020. Continue to work with Russian banks. Then there's this. The Trump organization had 5 active India projects estimated at $1.5 billion, with, as elsewhere, questionable partners. Investigators find, quote, a long history of lawsuits, police inquiries, and government investigations that contain evidence of potential bribery, fraud, intimidation, illegal land acquisition, tax evasion, and money laundering. Look, there's a lot we could dig in and rehash about Trump and his crooked businesses, from Trump Steaks to Trump University, to the way he paid off Jeffrey Epstein, to the way he used his daughter as a shield when he was being questioned about Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, the guy's a crook, and I can't believe some of our fellow citizens voted for him not once, not twice, but 3 times. Those assholes have no moral authority whatsoever. And honestly, I think if we ever do get power back, we should institute some re-education camps for those folks. I'm looking at you, Arkansas, Mississippi, Florida, Alabama. Maybe we take away your football scholarships and make you go to school and learn what it means to be a decent human being. All right, that's it. I mean, I could go on forever, but like I said at the beginning, primary night, let's go DSA. Let's go DSA aligned candidates. We're looking for a sweep. Talk to you folks later.